Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncy-Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. All right. Jen Fontanilla, you are a rock star. I cannot wait for you to introduce yourself to the audience, to the listeners. Please share a little bit about you before we kick it off.
Absolutely. So thank you. I am so thrilled to be here with you, Michelle. I am a money mindset coach for creatives, creative entrepreneurs, and I teach creative women how to charge more and not feel guilty about it and to just live a life where they're just thriving. And so I do that by combining my experience of 25 years of graphic design and 20 years in financial services. And so now it's this wonderful world where we can learn as creatives to build wealth.
Yes. And you have such a backstory. You've got pretty diverse history. You actually are a little bit like me. I changed college majors 7 times. So I really seek out people that have a little diversity in their background. And you went from studying biology to becoming a designer to a financial advisor, and now money mindset coach and phenomenal author, by the way, if we can just add in one more. I really want to know, what was that moment for you where you realized that it wasn't necessarily about lockstep strategy, but about passion?
Yes. It's so interesting how when we grow up, we are taught by society or most likely our family that everything is supposed to be this linear thing, right? Isn't that weird? Oh, you're going to go to school. Okay, now you're going to go to college. Then you're going to get married. Then you're going to buy a house. And I don't even know who came up with that order, but obviously I did not know. Did not know. Like, and so I think you just go through life and you go through all these mistakes and it's this trial and error thing. And I think after I was a junior and I was entering the senior year, I started realizing I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I talked about this in my TEDx where I just had this encounter with a friend on campus and he was looking at Photoshop and he was learning how to design things on the computer. And this was like circa 1997. And I'm just like, wow, what is that? How'd you do that? And so I realized, wow, I'm all lit up about this design stuff. And as much as I love science, I was not feeling that way when I volunteered at the hospital and worked at the hospital. It's like, there's something to look into this. And that was kind of like the start of that path on the design. And then when I was a designer, I still am, but at that time when it was starting, you know what, this is what it is, Michelle. You get these moments and you start questioning, like after a while, I'm like, do I still want to do this?
Yeah.
Do I still want to go down this path? And I am somebody who has not kept a traditional job for more than 2 years. It's just, I just get bored. And I'm just like, I've mastered this. I'm really good at this, but I'm not passionate about it anymore. And so it would be like those kind of moments. But when I was a designer, I got to this point where I thought, wow, I'm making really good money. I'm in my early 20s and I don't know anything about investing or all these things. I just know how to save. And I said, I'm going to learn how to do money. And so I decided to become a financial advisor. And I wanted to be able to explain these concepts to people in a very easy way because I knew what it was like to talk to somebody in that field and just be completely like, what are you talking about? Not explaining it in plain English. And I got it, but I was like, no, there's a better way to do this. How do we explain this? All these money concepts, investing, retirement planning, like all the technical stuff. I wanted to be able to explain this to people in plain English and so that they could be comfortable, because if they're not competent in what they're learning, they're not going to be confident. And if you're not confident, you're not going to execute the plan. It's going to fall apart, or you don't want to because you're afraid. And so I wanted to change all those things. And so it's just these pivotal moments where I realized, okay, what do I want to do now? How do I continue to help people? How do I align that with something that excites me?
Yeah. And you often talk about women and struggling with pricing. And your words are that women don't struggle with pricing because of spreadsheets. They struggle because of stories. And it sounds to me like what you're saying, there's an inner story that's going on for women,
Absolutely.
especially. So, what do you think is that most common money story that you see female creative entrepreneurs carrying around?
The most common ones I've encountered are, "I can't charge this much." Or they're not necessarily saying that, but I can look at what they're doing, and then it's just, "Oh my gosh, you need to raise this. Like, you're so awesome at what you're doing. Why are you only charging this?" And so there's that story of probably, "I'm not enough. I'm not good enough." The imposter syndrome. And what's so interesting, Michelle, is that it doesn't matter what level somebody's at. I've seen it with people that are very new to their career, and I've seen it in rooms with people that I'm in masterminds with, women that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars, even still questioning their worth and deservingness at that level, which is so crazy to me, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting across like the Zoom looking out, like thinking in my head, like, you're running like a super incredibly successful company, but it humbles me and it makes me realize, wow, a lot of us have to remember that phrase, new level, new devil. So just because we may be very successful at a certain financial level, we are still carrying these stories that we may not have worked through. So it's very fascinating when I see somebody at a very infant stage of, "I'm just getting this started. Hey, I'm getting my feet wet. How do I price this?" to somebody who's rocking it. And I'm just like, wow, it doesn't matter. We are all sharing this story of, "I don't feel good enough. I'm not enough. I can't charge that much. Who's gonna buy it? I don't know if I'm good enough." And I'm just like, wow, it's incredible that we are experiencing that at all levels.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of that story coming from I can speak for myself. Let me qualify that. I was raised by a very well-intentioned mother who really had this idea that financial independence came from a secure job in a secure spot. So I'm wondering, I'm trying to connect that to what you're saying right now. And I'm almost wondering, do you think maybe women feel if I charge less, I'll be more guaranteed to get a number of people? So there's like this security in it, maybe? Or am I stretching because it's personal?
It's both. It's both. Everybody comes with their own money story, which is, what are the narratives that we inherited from our parents,
Hmm.
pastors, teachers, family members, society, school, whatever it may be. So there's all these things that are floating in our head that we are absorbing as children, all the way up to as young as a baby to 7, like all those things are forming. And so going back to the story with your mom, and think about it, each of us has heard something from our parents. And the thing that you said that was really interesting, which is spot on, is the safety thing. I think our parents tell us things because, of course, "Oh, I don't want you to get hurt." Like, how many times have we heard, like, "Be careful, you might fall." Yeah, of course we're gonna fall. We're climbing a jungle gym. We are gonna fall. That's okay though. But there's this constant feeling of, "I need to keep it safe. I need to keep you safe." And it's also inherently within us because we're wired that way. Going back to the caveman days when it was survival, within our brain, like, it's our subconscious mind is always trying to protect us. So when we are doing things that require us to stretch, our brain is saying, the prefrontal cortex is saying, "No, we haven't been there. Do not do that. Don't go there. That's not safe." So then you have those things, even at a biological, neurological level, saying that. Then you got your family saying things like, "No, don't do that. I don't know. Is that going to work? Maybe you should get a job. Maybe you should do this." So you got all these narratives happening. And then here we are going, "Oh, I don't know. I don't feel good enough. Oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I should do that. Okay, maybe that's not going to work." And so it really takes, at the end of the day, this awareness of saying, "Wait a minute, I don't want to choose that. That's not the route I want to take. I get it. I can appreciate where it comes from, but at least I have an understanding and an awareness of why it's happening and why people have said that. But that's not the narrative and story that I want to choose."
And being able to carry that awareness forward through struggle because it's not going to go smoothly necessarily as we try these new things, as we maybe deal with environments. For example, God, let's talk about how the 2008 crash impacted you, right? So,
Yeah.
for those of you maybe not aware, but 2008 was a pretty intense year for a lot of us. How did that shape you and your understanding of wealth and success and risk management?
Yeah. 2008 is when I lost like everything. And so, just to give some of you the backstory, at that time, I also was a financial advisor. So this makes it even just even gosh. I was a financial advisor at that time. And so the financial markets were crashing, the mortgage industry was crashing, the housing market was crashing, everything was just going to hell in a handbasket. And at that time, I lost the marriage. I lost 6 properties, and they were all in California. That was another mistake. I should have invested outside of the state. And then just retirement planning, everything went out the door. And I totally felt like an imposter because here I am thinking, "Oh my gosh, my personal life is falling apart." And yet I I think I used it as a distraction where I just focused in on the clients because I had to also talk people off the ledge at that time. Please do not move the money. Just hang in there. I know it's scary. And it was really like behavioral, like management. Please just stay calm. I know this is scary, but I was helping other people with managing their millions and whatnot. And then here I am, like my freaking life's falling apart. So I'm dealing with all that. And then it really brought me to a moment like, okay, it's all done. It's all like a falling apart. It's the dust is like trying to settle. Now what? Now what? Can I recover from this? Yes. Does it feel good? No. But again, you're at the fork in the road where you always have a choice. And I've always had a positive mindset. I really truly believe that. And I said, what's the alternative? Like I can just sit here and just mope. And I really believe we should allow ourselves to do that, but not for too long. And then it's time to take action. Have the pity party and the crying, but then it's time to take action. And so I had to clean things up. I had to file bankruptcy. I had to settle things with the IRS. And the reason being is because everything was in my name. I had the good credit. I had the income. I was making 3 times more than my ex. So it was all on me. So many lessons learned. But you go through that. And I now realize, and even back then, it was, you know what? Everything is figure outable. Everything is fixable within time. It's a rough good life, but it's fixable. And then you start to develop these other insights, especially as you get older. You realize, like, what's really important? Was it really all the stuff? Do you have your health? Do you still have a good community around you? Are you still living the dreams that you want to live out? So you kind of, I don't want to say it's like a near death experience. You start having these thoughts of what really matters. Am I doing the best that I can? And if you can be okay with that and be content with that and knowing that you are still making progress and moving forward, you realize like wealth is not defined only in financial terms. It's not just money, because I know a lot of people out there who have a ton of money, but they're miserable or they're suffering from massive health problems or have no relationship with their children or whatever the case may be. I think as a society, especially in this country, I think we need to start redefining that wealth is not just success and money and how many cars and houses do I have. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but let's make sure that we understand that we own the stuff doesn't own us. And that wealth can be defined in many other ways in the other areas of your life. And how rich are the relationships in your life? How rich are the dreams and the passions that you're trying to pursue? And are you pursuing them? And then are you truly being true to yourself in how you show up in the world?
Yeah. Yeah. And you work a lot at that intersection that you're talking about, that spirituality, the emotional healing, and financial literacy, right? So, how do you guide women through that tension between ambition and truly aligning with passion?
Yes. So one of the things I think that's interesting in the question is that it's an intersection. And so it's not so much that these are opposites, right? Because I think sometimes, Michelle, we think, oh, it has to be one or the other.
Mhm.
Which one do I have to pick? But a lot of times what I do is I'm guiding women to say to themselves, like, why can't I have both? Why can't I have all of it? Why do we have to make it this one or the other? Why can't it all just coexist? And so I think when we look at it that way, we start to take a different perspective that, wait a minute, I can be ambitious. I can build wealth. I can have these things and I can still have alignment. And when we remember our values, when we remember what is really important to us at the core of our being, of who we are, then we can also say, okay, does this fit with what I want to do and who I am? Because sometimes I think we're operating from, oh, and I've met people that have gone through this. My mom, especially in my Filipino culture, my mom, my parents, they want me to be a nurse. They want me to go in the doctor route, and I'll be damned if I wanted to be an actor, that kind of thing. And then you have all these other layers of complexity of cultural influence. So it's incredible to see how we need to learn how to stay true to ourselves in that in alignment. Have you define your values? What's important to you? And I think when we lose our way and we start focusing on the wrong things, going back to your previous question about wealth, okay, I need to get all the things, or going back to the very beginning of our conversation, like, are we so rigid that we are feeling that we need to fulfill that linear path that we were taught as children growing up, especially as women? We have a different narrative than what boys and men here. So we're following so many different things, but I've seen for me, and especially in the more recent years, I always come back to, does this feel good? Is this in alignment with who I am, whether it's my faith, my values? I'm constantly asking myself if this is truly in alignment and congruency with where I want to go. And it also helps me define the decisions and the choices of what I want to do, right? Because we're always inundated with options and opportunities and projects and partnerships. It just gets crazy, right? And I have some of the women I work with are like, "Man, I don't know if I should do this. And I'm just so confused." And we've all been there. And it's so simple though. I always come back to, what does it feel like? If you were to choose A or B, ask yourself, how does it feel? How would you feel if you chose A? And sometimes it'll be like, yeah, I don't know. There's your answer. It doesn't have to be broken down. It is that simple. Pay attention to your nervous system. Pay attention to how it's feeling. And then I sometimes will ask, okay, then how about B? Oh, yeah. Oh, I could do this. And then I would create this business. And then they just light up.
Mhm.
It's so simple, but us being humans on earth, we want to complicate it. But it could be that simple to just see, okay, how are you reacting to the possibility of that option? And then let that guide you and follow that. And then that's how, okay, this is the path. And then, of course, the part B of it is like, what if it doesn't work out? And what if it goes right? Because you get the worry where it's always constantly asking that part of it. And I'm like,
Can't
so
help ourselves. We can't
right.
help ourselves.
Yeah, we can't. We have to go there. I said, so what if it does? You
Yeah.
have the opportunity to make a new decision at that moment, but stop getting caught up in that. And this is so weird talking as a former financial advisor. Like, I know how easy it is to get caught up in like thinking of the future, planning for the future. But there is so much value in returning to the present moment because it's the only thing you can control. So while you want to have an eye on what's happening down the road, don't get so fixated that you are so worried about it that you can't even make a decision in the present moment. So come back to now. What is it that you're dealing with now? Handle that and let just one step at a time, because when you're confused, you're usually not taking action, and that's not the space we want to be in.
God, that is so true. There's so much to sit with right there because I think for a lot of us, that imagining, that future visualization, it's fun and it's out there and you can see it and to sit and stay and focus on the vision board. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't look at where your feet are planted in the given moment, vision is not a verb, right? It's not action. I've got a thing. I'm looking at a thing in the future, but if I don't look at the step I need to take, I'm not walking the path toward that future. So I love the way you articulated that because I think a lot of us get stuck in ideation.
And you're so right. That the word stuck. And I think it's so important to pause and emphasize too that this is not about visualizing and just, I'm just going to visualize all day and manifest in my brain and think about all those things. And you do need to do those things. However, and this is the things that I teach, is that it's the action that's going to get the ball rolling. This is not about magical thinking, like one of my mentors says. This is not about you just close your eyes and wait for it to come to you. It doesn't, it requires you to co create with the universe and God and source. You got to do your part. This is not just, it just comes to you and you do nothing. You have to take action. And so I think sometimes when it comes to talking about manifestation and all these different things, I think some people have this misconception that I'm just going to make the vision board and then I'm just going to sit here.
My vision board looks damn good, by the way.
Oh my gosh, I want to see it.
But it's true because I think a lot of us will look at outside people and we see that surface level and we're like, oh my God, they're so lucky. And they might even say something like, oh, the universe put me in this place. But I question how much you did that got you to that place because there's action there, sweetie. There is action.
So quick to blame the universe.
Yeah.
Probably you.
Complimented by the universe. We'll say complimented by. It's frosted by the universe. There we go. Now, you've been named a top 40 speaker shaping the future. You have given a TEDx talk, which I loved, by the way.
Thank you.
But you've also been that person in the room not knowing how to talk about what they do. And this is one of those reasons why I love talking to women, because I think a lot of women are going to be able to relate to this. How did you find your voice about what it is that you do, and how do you help others find theirs?
Yes. So that story, when I didn't know how to, you right? I was in my early 20s and I remember going to this wedding in Palm Springs and it was fancy, all these business people, doctors, lawyers, business owners. And I remember being intimidated and terrified. And I'm like, I don't know how to talk to anybody. And I remember it so clearly. I was standing on a balcony at this country club in Palm Springs and it was hot. And I remember feeling like nervous. And I remember feeling, I don't like that I don't know what to do. And so after that moment, I started doing the technical things. Oh, I took some networking lessons, or I learned how to speak and introduce myself. So I did the logical stuff, right? You learn how to do, form where you're talking about family, occupation, all that, right? You learn that stuff. And then as time went on, and as I started developing my career as a financial advisor, because that was pretty much how it started. I was like, oh, I gotta learn how to talk to people. Because if you're going to be in business, let's face the fact, you got to learn how to do sales. And I don't care how you may define it. People might think, oh, no, I don't do sales. No, you're selling something. It's either you, it's your service, it's your product. Like when you make a recommendation for a restaurant that you are raving about, you are selling. You are making a proposal that this restaurant is amazing. So we're always selling. So let me just say that. But going back to the story, you get to a point where you start to realize, okay, this is scary. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And I did end up learning that there is this value in exchange that needs to happen. If I don't speak up, if I don't learn how to do this, there are people out there who aren't getting the help that they need from what I can provide in the way that I can do it. And I had to learn how to just remove my fear from it and focus more on other people. And I have found in so many different areas of my life, Michelle, that when I just put the focus on the other person or the people that I'm trying to help, it just removes that fear a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, because I'm not so fixated on my fear. I'm not so fixated on, I don't know if I'm going to mess this up. It's no, how am I helping somebody else? Who am I to get in the way because I'm scared to say something? Who am I to get in the way of being able to help somebody go through a transformation, right? So in order to help people, I walk them through exercises like, what makes you great? What's your superpower? It's incredible to see how a lot of times we have to just go back to basics. We have to go back to the foundational things of reminding ourselves how amazing we are. Because remember, we were talking about earlier about imposter syndrome or people feeling not good enough, or I don't know who's gonna buy this. And so we need to get to the root cause of where did that happen? Where did that start? And the other question that I love is asking yourself, like, whose voice is that? Is that true? Because who said that to you? And so we go through the money stories, we go through all the stories, and we go back to our childhood to try to see But where did that start? And I know for me, I've done this exercise so many times, and it's amazing how a new memory will come up. It'll be as simple as, I remember there was those 2 girls in 4th grade. They were backstabbing me, and they were arguing about Hello Kitty pencil boxes, and then they said I wasn't good at it could be that lame. But you go back in your mind and you realize, like, that's where it started.
Yeah.
That's where it started. And so you go through those different things in your mind and you question, okay, whose voice was that? And when you chip away at it and you go back to your little Michelle, little Jen, you hug her and you let her know, like, you're safe. You don't have to hang on to these things as their truths anymore, because they're not. And so we have to work on those things every time that voice in our head comes back up. It's, wait a minute, okay, this is my mom's voice. Or that's my ex-husband's voice, or whoever's voice is in you. You don't you always have the power to choose not to listen to it anymore.
Yeah. I think there's a residue. That's what I've come to think of it as.
Mm,
There's this residue that like clings to us, and it can come from, if you're coming to the entrepreneurial space from corporate or industry, you're going to have some residue on you that you
mhm.
need to get rid of. And I think too, just as adults in general, we've built up a lot of this residue, and it's clinging to us, and it dampens our ability to listen to our guts or our intuition, if you will. And it's like when we slow down and start recognizing, I think the questions that you ask are so powerful, 'cause it really helps you recognize, oh, that's some residue that I've got still clinging to me. I need to get rid of that so I can really still listen to that original, because I think we have it. We have that intuition. I think we just bury it.
I agree. I love that word residue. And this is some of the things that I walk people through and I do myself. Is it's like forgiveness work, super, super huge. Forgiveness work, doing and reciting the Ho'oponopono prayer. And, whether, depending on what you believe in, there's like chakra clearing, there's energy clearing, there's meditation, there's different modalities and ways, whatever fits whatever you believe in. But there are many ways to remove that residue. And gosh, that's such a beautiful, perfect word for it. It is residue. And yet, how many of us are still walking around with that residue? It reminds me of like my dirty car in the driveway right now. I was on vacation for 3 weeks and it just collected dust, and I'm still driving it. I have to stop and wash it. But we are metaphorically driving around in our dirty cars, not stopping to get the car wash. And then you can't see clearly, right? The window's all messed up because there's all this dust and bugs, but you just do this temporarily, but it's still dirty because it hasn't really been washed. And so how many of us are walking still with this residue around us, and we haven't given ourselves the gift of stopping and pausing to just cleanse that? Get rid of those voices, get rid of all those stories that we do not have to hang on to anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. And you're helping people deal with that at multiple levels. Let's talk about your award-winning book, right? The Creative Code. And really am wondering, what is that core belief or shift that you hope that your readers walk away with?
I would say because the book is really a love letter to creatives, whether that is defined as a dancer, an artist, actor, chef, anything that involves like those types of creative fields, is that you can build wealth. That you do not have to hang on to these narratives that you probably grew up with, where when are you going to get a real job? Oh, the starving artist stigma, right? All those different things that people have said to us or that we might have heard, and we can let that go. And that is such a falsehood that we cannot make money and be creative and live this amazing life where we're practicing all these things that we want, whether it's creating, dancing, cooking. It breaks my heart when I would hear stories from people that came up to me after the TEDx, because the whole talk was about being able to hang on to your artistic dreams and be creative and change the belief system and look at the money stories and learn that there is a different way to approach this. This doesn't have to be, oh, I have to have a backup plan, and oh my gosh, I can't, this is not a real job. This is a hobby. Not taking those things that we're hearing from other people as truth. So it was really just, hey, we can look at this differently. You can build wealth. I'm living proof of it. I've done it. And so have many other people. And it's just this encouragement of we can change this narrative.
And it's interesting as you're talking, I'm thinking of like I'm blessed to have both my parents with me. But I really do. My mom is the one that does the talking. She's the one that's on the phone with me. My dad gets the reports. Or what's our kid up to? Okay, mom's going to be the one that talks to me and finds out. He's going to get the report. And so I'm hearing from my mom, your dad really wants to understand, what are you doing with this AI stuff? What are you doing? Yes, it's difficult, I think, for people to understand the possibilities right now. But you talk about feminine entrepreneurship, feminine wealth, that not necessarily being about a particular grind that we might have from corporate or industry experience, which is so much easier to explain because they get it, right? But what does it look like in practice when we're shifting from grind to choice?
I think the simple words to use is soft success, feminine flow,
Ooh.
soft success, where we can let go of this idea, like you said, that, oh, we have to grind. I got to claim the corporate ladder, those kinds of phrases. And it was cool at one point. Not to say that the younger generation doesn't have their mindset on that, but I think the incoming generations are into the workforce have a completely different view because I think they've seen what millennials and Gen X have gone through, especially the Gen Xers. They see what we went through, and they're like, "I'm not having that." But I think you go through these stages where, and I'll speak for myself, like the linear path or the wannabe linear path.
Yeah.
You go to the stage where you think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this, and then this is going to happen. And then you go through life and adulting and you realize it's not aligned. And then you start to question, what do I really want? And do I really want to get it this way? Because before everything was the crash in my own story, I remember I was like 27 and I said, that's it. I'm going to build my real estate empire. I'm just going to do all these things in order. And then I'm going to retire at 36. I'm going to be done. I'm just going to live off the residual. I had all these crazy plans, right? And when you lose it and then you go through things, you realize, okay, that wasn't realistic. And now we have this big detour that we're on now. So you just go through life, right? You go through these things and then you realize, wait a minute, I don't think I like that anymore. That was very tiring. Or if you are in corporate or you were in corporate, you remember and know like the multitude of hours of work, getting the phone calls when you know you're trying to spend time either alone or with your family or whatnot. And you just realize it doesn't have to be this way. And who wrote this? Who said this is how it has to be? And I think also for me in the more recent years, I just realized like how wonderful it feels to be in a state of peace. Like I don't know, as I'm getting older, I'm just like, I just want to feel peace. I don't want to feel craziness anymore. I don't need to feel the chaos. I went through a couple of relationships in the recent past where it was just freaking chaotic. It was like an ish show circus. It was just chaotic. And I just got to a point where like, I'm done. I am so done with this. Like, I just want peace. And then I wanted peace not only in my personal life, I wanted peace in the business. I wanted peace in even with the people that I interact with. And there's something so beautiful about being a woman and being able to be in this feminine flow and feminine energy where you get to show up and receive, that you get to create, and then you receive, you still take action. But there isn't this thing where we got to keep grinding and I got to work really hard. It's like I have removed that from the words that I say, and even with the people that I work with, is we're not saying that anymore. We're not saying that you got to work hard. Like even, and I have a teenage son, but I tell him, I'm like, all this stuff, you got to work hard, and in order to do good, I'm like, we're not doing that. And so I'm even teaching him these principles, these universal laws, these spiritual laws of there is a totally different way you can approach this. And it doesn't have to be crazy, because I'm tired of seeing people lose time, lose their health. I have a friend who has lost like 75% of his eyesight from one eye and then had a heart attack. It's just, I have all these stories of people that just did that. The whole phrase of, I can sleep when I die. And I'm just like, dude, no, we're not doing that anymore. And so to sum it up, it's all about having soft success.
Yeah. Yeah. And God, that just speaks to me so hugely because I remember as a child, the ambulance showing up at the house, taking my dad out on a gurney because it's just the stress of his job was literally just like eating him up. And I think so many people that go through that are working from a place of scarcity. It's like, I have to get the next thing because we could lose everything if I don't. And I'm providing for XYZ. And if I don't hustle, if I don't do this. And so there's just such a sense of it's this false binary, right? Of I'm either going to be grinding or I'm going to have nothing. And so you worked a lot with people around that. And I know you blend practical tools with energy work. And can you share a specific practice that's helped a client shift from that scary place of scarcity towards more of an abundance mindset?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times we talk about things, let's say that somebody's offer, whatever field they're in. Like I'm thinking about somebody that she's a copywriter and we're looking at what she's offering. And I'm like, you need to charge more. It's sometimes so simple, right? It's just like, why, what are you providing? Okay, look at all these things that you're doing for them. Why are you, what if you could talk to your higher self? If you can imagine the person that you are aspiring and desiring to be, and she's already there, what would she be doing? And I'm not saying maybe it doesn't jump to from a few hundreds to several thousands, but we talked about that one little step. Can you, because when we're pricing things, we have gone through it. Oh, that's a lot. I don't know if you're gonna swear, literally last month. It's like you bump it up, you're like, ooh, that's too high. That's too much. But is it right? But my goal in this exercise with people is just this like, if I can just push you past where you currently are, and it still feels scary, but then it still feels like you are feeling that you are still within integrity, that you are obviously. And I want to make this clear. This is not about ripping people off and seeing how much you can get. This is about you still providing a value of exchange of goods and services for what you're asking for. But the fact of the matter is most people are undercharging.
Mhm.
So most of the work is helping people realize, come on, you can do it. And I've even gone through this exercise with some friends. Like they'll come to me, they're like, hey, can you just review this for me? Because how you got your business friends, like we just do that for each other, right? Because they help me, I help them. Every single time I look at somebody's offer or whatever, the landing page, whatever it is, I say the same thing. You need to add more. You need to add more. Are you sure? And it's always the same answer. Are you sure? Are you sure that's, can you just do it? When's your meeting? When's your meeting? They're like, it's tomorrow morning. Okay, can you just do it? Because then you can come back down if they don't like it, or it's just start there. Because I'm telling you, there have been many times I've seen where they didn't ask for it. And then they'll hear something like, oh, okay, no, this is perfect because we had, let's say she only asked for 6,000. And then the person came back and said, like, oh, this is perfect because we had a budget for 10,000. This is perfect. It's like, where I would have rather you overshot it at 12,000 or something and worked your way down. You never know in the conversation they could have said, we only have a budget for 10,000. Will that work? It's a heck of a lot better than 6K. But it's like things like that where
Yep.
we're doing the logistics stuff, right? Okay, the pricing, like, because we have that fear. It keeps going back to the beginning of the conversation. I'm not good enough. Can I really charge for that? And I think the other thing that I didn't mention yet is there is this guilt that we're charging for something that is so easy to us, that comes naturally to us, that we're so good at. It almost is like this weird thing where we feel like, no, that's too easy. But I only did it in 5 minutes, or that's so easy for me to do. I can't ask for that much. Says who? We need to get out of this thing that you're running a business. This is not you working like at McDonald's or at the mall where you're trading dollars for hours. you have got to remind yourself that you are providing value and transformation. This is not about I worked on this and it's going to be $7.50. It doesn't work that way in this world, in our world. So it's really helping women wrap their brain around, we need to shift this, that you are providing value, and that we need to move away from feeling that we're not enough, and that no, this, you are doing amazing things and there is no reason why you need to feel guilt or shame for charging for it.
I literally had this conversation the other day where we were talking about what I was calling reconstructing meaning. You're reconstructing what value means now because the knowledge work, the mundane time on task that used to happen doesn't necessarily need to happen in all spaces anymore. We're having to reconstruct. And so you get these responses where it's, oh, that took me 3 minutes. I'm not going to share with anybody that took 3 minutes because then I feel guilty. I'm like, wait a second. Did the value of the product change because of the time you spent on it? Is it still the same beautiful, amazing product that they asked for?
Right.
Why, yes. Yes, it is. And so I see that struggle. I do. I see it. I feel it. I'm not immune to it.
And the other thing I'll add to that, Michelle, is it's there's the other side of it too, where let's say you get a proposal and it's way below what you would have accepted and you say yes to it. And then there's other things where I'm like, okay, why? I'll ask whoever I'm working with, why did you say yes? I don't know. It felt bad. How much would have been if you had? It would have been at least maybe 3,000 more. And so there's this guilt, right? So now we're getting to these causes of these root causes where I notice that there's guilt involved. But here's the thing. The more that you, and this is how I look at it, the more that you continue to accept things that are beneath the value that you would have provided, the more that you're putting out there into the universe and signaling out that, hey, I'm okay with this. Can you give me more of these proposals that are beneath my pay grade? Just hearing that alone would just make me go, oh, hell no, I'm not doing this again. And it's a matter of also not just saying yes to the things that you want. We also have to learn how to say no to the things that are not in alignment with who we are and at the level that we're at. And I think that's another thing that some women are struggling with, where you have got to learn how to say no. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you don't want to help. It's you honoring yourself, you valuing yourself, and you telling yourself, I deserve better. It doesn't mean it's beneath you. It just means it's not meant for you. That's something for somebody else. But we have also got to learn how to say no.
No, that's so true. And I'm wondering, because I know you've worked with clients from Sony to Disney to Universal, and I'm wondering, is there a difference in the money blocks? Because do high performing creatives differ in their money blocks, or are we pretty much just all wrestling with that same inner story?
It's the same.
It doesn't matter.
Stuff in the same way, no matter what level. They're just dealing with more zeros.
Okay.
It's fascinating. Yeah. I think about some of the people that I've worked with, and I'm like, and I know in the initial meetings, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at their situation, and I'm like, this is interesting that they are financially successful. They have these multiple zeros, several hundred thousands of dollars in salary, and yet they still feel inadequate. I don't know, or I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm confused. I don't know what I'm doing with the money. I don't know why I feel guilty. It's the same. It's just different dollar amounts, but the core things that we are all dealing with, it's usually at that low vibrational frequency of guilt and shame. And we are all dealing with it because we haven't really tapped into what the money stories are. We're still paying attention to that voice from whoever said that thing to you from the past. But yeah, it's fascinating that we are all dealing with the same kinds of stories and things in our mind.
Yeah, because of the humanity that's
Right.
underneath all of it.
Right.
Exactly. So, as we wrap up today, I'm curious, what is one thing that you would challenge the listeners to do to start shifting their money mindset towards something more powerful, more peaceful, and allow for that creativity?
Yeah, I think I talked about it earlier. Do this where you just sit in solitude or just silence and then just visualize in your mind if you were to be in the space of whatever that looks like for you, whether it's more money, healthier, on an island or in France, whatever it is. Put yourself in that space in your mind's eye and just visualize you at that higher self, you at that space already. And then ask yourself, what is one thing I can do to get closer to that? Maybe it's, and then baby steps, but I want you to visualize you already there. But what's a baby step that you can take? Maybe it's charge 10% more. Maybe it's you need to just fire that client that's been a headache and you still are you're still taking project and it's just been this thorn in your side because you're afraid to say no. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's allowing you to practice self-care, that you are just paying all this attention to your family and your kids, but you always run out of time and you never have time for yourself. So you never work out. What is that one thing that you can do? And maybe you're sitting here listening saying, I don't have the time. Then what are things that you need to start saying no to so that you can create that time? Because we all have the same amount of time. The only difference is you are choosing to say yes to the wrong things. So what are those things that you need to start saying no to create the time to do the things to allow you to get closer to that version of you at the higher self?
Yeah. Gauntlet thrown. Now we need to do it.
Great.
Oh, Jen, thank you so much for your time. This has been a fantastic conversation. And I'm assuming people are going to want to connect with you at this point. Can you give us some idea of where they can connect with you and see your work?
Yes, you can reach me at jenmoneycoach.com, or you can find me, especially on LinkedIn. That's where I see Michelle all the time. I live there. Yeah, I live there too. My new favorite residence. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. I would love to hear from you. And if you made a shift or something that you did, I would love to hear what you decided to do to get to that higher version of you.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. We are all the better for having hung out with you. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.